No pressure, man. Because this is like completely first trial. Like I've never done anything like this either, so we're testing this out as we go.
Learning from the ground up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm ready when you are.
Okay.
I got some answers in front of me.
It should come from the heart, Genia. That's faking it out. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, it's just like the politically correct stuff I have to kind of write down.
What? Is this a show where we can't even swear on? Like, is this a PG? Is this a kid-friendly show? Family-friendly content? Is that what you just did to me?
No, I mean, like, because if you ask me, like, why I stopped karate, like, how that was one of your questions.
Oh, yeah, I knew that.
Yeah, because I told you the real reason, but I can't say that here.
That's okay.
I have to
just make up a cool reason. You got there so quickly, there's nothing else for you to do. I don't know, make up like a cool reason though, like a legendary reason, not just
Okay, I don't even, what's a legendary reason? I don't know.
You got stuck in a ninja sword fight and you got injured, and then you had to quit after that to take care of the karate pandas or panda farm. Yeah, couldn't leave them behind, so
the dragon flew down and burnt the entire school. And
no. See, that's where you're taking it out of the reality. It's got to stay in reality.
Oh, it's got to be real.
Yeah.
Okay.
See, because pandas are real.
Okay.
Nobody knows if panda farms are real or not, so could be conspiracy. You could argue that. But dragons, people would be like, so, you gotta lie, but like still have truth to it. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. I ran away to join the circus, the panda circus, to save the pandas.
I guess so. You do have the abs for the circus, so I've seen those people. I don't know why on my YouTube searches, just the auto generator recommended like the Cirque du Soleil ab videos, because apparently they're releasing like workout with Cirque du Soleil, whatever, and their ab videos are like 5-minute plank craziness, and the lady who's leading has not even a 6-pack, she has like 100-pack. Like literally each little bump I can see in her chest. So I'm like, that's what you have to deal with if you're in the circus. Say what you will, they are very fit people. Scare me half to death. Jeez. It's like 5-minute plank. Anyways,
this is like the best because I love how all of this is recorded right now. So that's like perfect bloopers.
It's not a blooper when it's genuine reality.
True.
So
true. I like it.
If they want extra feedback tips, extra content, it really takes off. We have more content, but I'm just saying, I didn't mess up. That's called improv. Okay, so just rolling.
All right. So how do you want to start this?
I have like my little blurb, so that way in the audio, because they usually, like the ones I've listened to, they start off like just the host doing whatever, saying that intro music, whatever thing, and then the person, like the actual interview starts. So pretend you're like not here, I guess.
Okay. You could look in my car.
Hey everyone, I'm Abigail Dube.
I'm Genia.
And you're listening to Knockout Origins. and welcome to the very first podcast of KO Origins. My name is Abigail Dube, and I'm an amateur boxer who's training for my very first fight. So our first guest is a first-degree black belt in karate, or should I say first-degree belt in kicking ass? Just kidding. Sorry. So all jokes aside, please welcome our first guest, Genia Melbourne.
Hey.
Thank you. Clapping for you too. You just can't see her. She's clapping. Very excited. She's not glaring at us at all. So.
That's good.
Good things.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, you are more than welcome. Thank you for agreeing to this.
You're welcome.
So let's get down to it. How did you first find or get started in karate?
Well, I was literally born into it.
That's a good way.
Yeah, because my family owned a karate school, like a karate franchise. So before I was even born, they were in karate and running the school. And actually, at my mom's baby shower, someone made me a baby-sized gi and black belt.
Oh.
So I was in it from I was really, really
just
little.
In your blood.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Did you ever hurt anybody? Because I know there's like some forms of karate that are just like they're like more spiritual, I guess I'd say, and then there are some that are like, you know, you could actually like apparently, you know, just one finger just self-destruct the human body. So
But I've never not hurt in the way like people have to go to the hospital. It's like it's
I never shot nobody. Okay.
But I mean, do you get sore? Yeah. Do you get hit and get a little bit bruised? Yeah. One time, Sandra and I were sparring, practicing in our living room, and we broke the coffee table. But you know, no major.
It wasn't like an ill intention.
No.
So yeah.
No. I mean, like it's a combat sport, so you get hurt, but no hospitalization, like nothing serious like that.
Yeah. Well, I feel like that's one of the major misconceptions about combat sports, or like at least a lot of the amateur or where you start out is like a lot of it is so regulated, and like there's so many rules and policies in place that like you hardly hear of anyone going to a hospital, or like, you know, there are doctors on site checking things. So that's where I'm like, why not? You know, it's as safe as it could be.
Especially now, like there's a lot more rules and regulations now. My era was just kind of just before a whole slew of rules and regulations came, but not as heavy as like my dad's generation. Because like when my parents' generation, when they would go to tournaments and stuff, like yeah, people would be coming out of tournaments with like dislocated joints and you know dislocated fingers and so yeah, they would go to the hospital after tournaments and you know get fixed up. But I mean that's old school. You can't do that anymore without getting sued. So.
Yeah.
So a lot more rules and regulations are in place where stuff like that doesn't happen. Not it's you know what I mean, like it's a lot more regulated now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's kind of the same question, but did you ever knock someone out, or have the rules like progressed to a point that like it's kind of more of like a TKO compared to like actual knockout? Actually, I don't even know if you can have like knockouts in karate. I don't even know.
No, it's no, I have never. have I seen it in tournament though? I think I might have seen somebody got knocked out at tournament, but only once,
Mm-hmm.
if I can remember. But it wasn't me. But the refs are very good about it. Like for us in tournament, like there's no headshots, like how boxing is like a lot more aimed at the head. For karate, it's not. It's like you can get close,
Mm-hmm.
but you don't really like hit.
You don't actually make contact.
Yeah, you don't
Yeah.
actually make contact. If you do, you get a warning. I got warnings because I
Yeah.
did make contact with head, but I mean, yeah, the person was coming in, and if you stick your head in my face, I'm gonna hit it because you're putting it right there, like But so I did get two warnings for bopping it,
Mm.
but and I no, I didn't get disqualified because if I had three warnings, then I would have got disqualified. But
Okay.
yeah, I got two warnings for bopping someone in their head, and yeah, but no knockout. It wasn't a knockout or
Yeah.
anything. It was
Anything like that.
upset.
Yeah. But even then, like, well, just to clarify on boxing and like amateur knockout or like knockout compared to like a professional knockout is like they're very different. And like usually the knockouts that happen, like you get your like 8 count or whatever, but then usually like things continue after that and like the rounds continue. So like I think it adds like a point to the opponent, but other than that, like it doesn't really do anything. Whereas in professional boxing, like that's where it's like once you're out kind of thing. And like if you want to get up, like it's probably not a good idea. So that's like the serious difference. It's like obviously amateur, it's less likely for you to get hurt like that, very rarely. Like if you're very unprepared, um it might shock you, but I really doubt you'll get like that intensely hurt. Whereas obviously in a pro match, like people expect you know what you're doing. So yeah. What was like karate like for you? Because I've never done any of those kinds of sports. And you always hear like it's always like you always want to be like patient and like only attack if the person's coming at you kind of thing. So
So in like I loved it.
mm-hmm.
I love it. Um, so what do you mean in terms of like patience? Like in which way do you mean? Because like there's lots of ways I can
Mm-hmm.
like specifically, I guess. Like like so I can understand your question better, I think is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like what karate meant to you, or um, like what kind of style you did, because I think there are like many different styles,
Yeah.
just to like kind of explain the sport itself a little bit better.
Okay. So yeah, so I cannot speak Japanese properly, so I'm really gonna botch this name right now.
No
Okay.
problem.
So Shitoru Itusukai. Um, karate, and karate and kabuto. So karate is open hand, empty hand combat, and then kabuto is with weapons. So I trained open hand, empty hand, sorry, as well as with we use bows, escrimas. Bows are like long sticks. Escrimas are short sticks. Nunchucks, sai, comma. Comma is it looks like a hook. It looks kind of like that, like it's a hook, and then the stick. You kind of like some people use it for like gardening as well. I think that's what a comma is. A sai. I remember a sai correctly. I think it's the three pronged thing. It like looks like a pitchfork kind of. I think that's a sai. Um, what else do we use? Tonfas. So tonfas is like Police. I think police officers have tonfas. Um, it's a stick like this, and then it has a
It's like a
handle.
beating stick.
Yeah, like a bully. Yeah. So when you hold it, um, when you hold the handle, and then it comes down like that.
Mm.
Yeah. So tonfas. Um, Swords. Um, and yeah, katanas. Yeah, so like a lot of different types of weapons in Kabuto that you train with. I
Jeez.
personally trained with bows, escrimas, tonfas, and uh, nunchucks a little bit. Yeah.
It's intense. How have you not like gone into like stunt doubling or like been hired to do like I don't know, just like a music video or just anything like that? Like I feel like those skills are so useful right now. Like, the sky's the limit, you know?
Yeah, that would be fun actually. That'd be pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. Um yeah, did you enjoy competing?
Uh, I loved competing. I actually got into competing a lot later.
Mhm.
I used to go to because we would have tournaments twice a year, so a spring tournament and a fall tournament, and I would go to every tournament. But I was really young, so I've been doing karate from I was like 2 years old, and then I think we stopped around maybe 12. I think we stopped like competing, and then 16 we stopped fully. So
Mhm.
so for the period of time that I was in it, I was really young, and so I enjoyed more being in the basement of the karate dojo where we were having the tournaments and playing hide and seek and running around in the basement, and
Yeah.
that was like so much fun for me. And it was just like, yeah, okay, I go up and watch tournament for a little bit, but then it's like I want to go downstairs and play with my friends,
Yeah.
run around and play hide and
I
seek.
mean, 2 years old, like come on.
And then once Sandra started competing and winning trophies, then I'm like, shit, I want a trophy too. So then I started competing too.
Yeah.
And so
Sounds like me. Like I can't be outshined. Like I want something shiny. I'm just as good.
so for the short, I don't know, maybe 2 3 years that I actually did competitions before we
Mm-hmm.
stopped. I loved it, and I actually had really wished I got into it a lot sooner because
Mm-hmm.
I loved it so much. So I would
Yeah.
compete in again, not very good at speaking Japanese, but in katas, as well as commutes. So kata is when you put the movements together into a form of, because I don't know how else to describe it, I'm going to say a dance. It's not a dance,
Okay.
but it's when you kind of put movements together it's in a specific pattern, a specific layout. So it's organized kind of like you would choreograph. It's choreography, right? It's
Okay. And it
choreographing a bunch of
flows.
movements. Yeah,
Yeah.
right. And so there's different um, as you as you go through the levels of karate from white belt to black belt, you have to learn different katas before you move on to the next level. So it's a
Mm.
bunch of different choreographed steps um, and different movements. And those movements that you do in katas can be broken down into how you would deal with an attacker on the street, right? So it's a form of combinations of like offense and defensive techniques that you would do with an attacker. Um, if it's hard to explain, but I hope that kind of
Mm-hmm.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Uh, and so yeah, so I like competing in katas, choreographed moves, as well as commute, which is sparring. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, that was kind of my next question was like, Because I remember you telling me there were like different competitions, and like, is it just those ones, or were there like, I feel like karate has so many different like variations that you could compete in.
Well, I guess it depends on your style and I guess the tournaments that you go into. But
Okay.
yeah, but for ours, it was kata and kumite. Katas were individual katas as well as a team kata. So
Mm-hmm.
everybody doing the same movements at the same time. So precision is really important in that, making sure that everybody in your team is doing the same moves at the same time. That's how you get your like the better score, So it's like synchronized dancing.
Swimming,
Yeah,
whatever, yeah, all that
a really,
synchronization.
really beautiful art form and
Yeah,
discipline.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What level did you get to?
I got to first degree black belt, and yeah, I got my black belt when I was 9. Um, but
So
I
simple.
mean, I
It's
was doing
just
it my whole life, right? From I could walk and punch, and I was doing it my whole life. So I got my black belt when I was 9. Um, at the time, they called it a junior black because I was so young. Because
mm-hmm.
technically, they only gave black belts to 16 and up, but
Oh,
because I was so young and um, they had to like make younger like a different level for us little kids. So we learned the same. We had the same skills. We had to learn the same katas. Everything was the same, but
yeah.
because we were younger, they called it a junior first degree, a junior black belt.
Yeah, you couldn't upset those older people, right? So couldn't
Yeah.
make them feel bad. So it's all right. Yeah, that like 80-year-old who just achieved their black belt, you know, you gotta separate a little bit, make sure they don't die of shame, right? So a little 9-year-old over there kicking their ass. Are there levels after that? Is that like the highest level?
No, that's not the highest level. I
Okay.
don't actually know what the highest level is, but I know that my Shihen is an eighth dan black belt, so an eighth degree.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so 10, 11, I don't know how many it goes up, but I was a first. I think my mom was a second.
Mm-hmm.
Sandra was a first. My dad was a third, I think. And then our Sheehan, so my dad's teacher was an eighth, I
Jeez.
think. So yeah, I'm not sure how far it goes up, but yeah.
Maybe they just keep adding levels as soon as X amount of people cross that finish line, you know. They're like, okay, we're just gonna add 2 more levels to this black belt. Okay, another 2 more. Like just people keep maxing it out. So maybe they just make it up as they go along. Who knows? um oh yeah, I mean you don't this is kind of personal, but why did you stop, or like why did you stop competing, I guess?
Um, we stopped competing. Life changes, I
Mm-hmm.
guess. When we also moved, so our karate school that we had was in Huntsville.
Yeah.
So when we moved to Guelph, we tried to keep going for a while because we would drive the 2.5
Oh
hours from
God.
to Huntsville to give classes. But that was kind of, it became a little too much at the time.
It's
So
not sustainable.
it
Yeah.
wasn't sustainable.
No.
So it
Yeah.
was kind of good. So down to move, but yeah.
Any advice, I guess for girls specifically, but can be for anyone who's looking to get into combat sports, into karate.
Just
Any
do it.
just do.
Really, just
I
do
feel
it.
like Nike's advice is always so solid.
It
Just
is.
do it.
It's the Nike gives the best advice. Like literally, just do it. If you like it, if you have a passion for it, if you love it, just go. Just go and
Mm-hmm.
just do it because it's a lot of fun. You learn a lot. Like karate for me was really foundational in who I am as a person. It is the foundation of my my being, like who I am.
Mm-hmm.
The discipline that I learned from karate, like the discipline, the patience, the persistence,
yeah, I
the
can only imagine patience.
is just like you do so much, um, and really overcoming fears. You know, just like learning to just go and do what you have to do, and
hmm
it really teaches you so much. So if you love it, you have a passion for it, just do it.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
feel like that's where I'm struggling with right now personally is like just getting over that hump of like, I don't know why, but there's just so many doubts of like, at first I'm like, oh, I could never do sparring. There's just absolutely no way. And now I'm at that point of like, now that I've done that and I've overcome that hurdle, going into the first fight, I'm just like, oh, there's absolutely no way I could do that. Like everyone else can do it, but like, I'm different, right? Like I could never do that. So I think it's just like, yeah, just taking that advice, just going and doing it and not looking back. And I
Yeah.
think like I know I'm gonna have a blast and I know I'm gonna have so much fun, but there's still that like it's the fear of the unknown, I guess, like because you really don't know what's gonna happen for better or for worse. So I think it's just like once you get that experience, that initial like um I didn't die, I'm okay, and I kind of enjoyed that under your belt, that like it'll keep being scary no matter what. So yeah. That's where I'm kind of at right now is like just the mind game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a mental game. You know,
Yeah.
once you kind of learn how to just kind of fight through that, and it
Mm-hmm.
takes time, right? It takes time to kind of get over that fear.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but once you get over that fear, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I don't even think it's like a fear of getting hurt necessarily because I know the expectation, but it's like the fear of like what's that word of like not performing well or like letting people down or like letting my coach or my team down, right? It would be like disappointing to me. So I think that above anything else would be like the biggest fear. hmm
But
but at the same time, like they've made it known to me that like either way they don't care if you win or lose. It's just about having fun, like doing the best that you can, right? So
yeah,
and as long as you learn from it, that's all they can
yeah,
ask. And I
absolutely.
think like that's the best environment to be in, so why not?
Yeah,
So I think it would be like kind of similar to what you were saying is like it would be a huge disservice to me not to make that effort because so far it's helped me grow so much as a person, and like deal with so many issues or like just anger or whatever in the moment and just like really process everything. And I think like it's such a great outlet, like whether it's karate or boxing or like even just like hockey. Like I've heard hockey can be really aggressive, like whatever it is, right? Can be just so like good for you, um, mentally, spiritually, physically, like all of it. So, and I
yeah,
think that's something really unique to like these sports. You know what I mean? It's like you can't really get that anywhere else.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
Mm-hmm. My words of wisdom for the day. You're welcome. Yeah. Yeah, well, you guys had your own gym. So how do you guys like run that? What
How
was
did
that
like we
like?
run
Mm-hmm.
class? Well, we ran classes out of my school, so from in my out of my school gym. So the same school that I went to class for at after school program, we would go back to school and have
Mm-hmm.
karate in the gym in the school gym. So that's how we had it in there. We had a bunch of like as our classes would grow, like people as people would go from like white belt to black belt, then we would have, and if they stayed with the school, then we would have a bunch of instructors. Um, so a bunch of black belts, and we would all so like my dad would kind of start um, running class. Like he did like the major stuff, but then all the other black belts that were there too, they helped with teaching the lower belts, the younger kids, and so we would all teach and learn from each other. So it was never just my dad as the head instructor of the school doing all the teaching. It
Mm-hmm.
would be like all the other higher level belts, usually from like brown belt and up. Oh yeah, so belts is like white, yellow, orange, um, green, blue, brown, shodan ho, which is brown and black, junior black, which is black and a white stripe, and black. So the brown belts, brown, shodan ho, and black belts would all kind of go and help and teach. And even sometimes got the kind of like the younger higher belts in there. So they were like a green belt would go and help a white belt, a beginner with like their first katas and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a very collaborative environment where you would take the knowledge that you know and you would teach someone
Mm-hmm.
of a younger belt. So it was a really nice kind of family atmosphere, collaborative atmosphere. Everybody helps everybody. Everybody kind of trains everybody. Everybody works together.
Mm-hmm.
And there was also no separation of genders, so everybody spars together. All genders spar everybody. So
See,
it's
that's what
not
I like. That's what I
yeah.
like about like certain gyms. Not to cut you off, but yeah. No, I really like enjoy when because there's so much to gain from each other, not just like separated by gender, but like because I've had like experiences in gyms where they do that, where it's like the girls just train with the girls and the guys just train with the guys. And it really just limits like the amount you can learn, the amount you can practice. And because if everyone is constantly doing like difficult sparring, there's so much that you're kind of like missing out on, or you're not getting to practice as much. So like for example, if you pair a guy and a girl together, the guy can work more on his defense, girl can work more on offense, or vice versa. And like you can like really make people work on what they're weak at. And I think that's kind of the point, instead of like just constantly like thrashing each other and like always like working like your strong suits or this or that. Like it's kind of like brings an interesting perspective into it, and it makes you think a little bit more like, okay, if this situation happens like in an actual ring or like competition, what am I going to do? And like, and if I can't use these readily available things, like, so it helps you develop other skills, which I really like.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And like the best part about it was that like, and when I say everybody fought, like it was literally everybody would spar everybody, because like you're saying, you learn different things when you fight different people,
Yeah.
right? So it would like during sparring time, we would even have like the youngest kid, so like the 4-year-old would the 4-year-old girl would be sparring against the 30-year-old man, right? It's
That's so
like
cute.
we literally, it was everybody, all
Yeah.
belts fight all belts,
Mm-hmm.
all genders fight all genders.
Yeah.
Uh, there was no segregation in it,
Mm-hmm.
and it's because you learn different things, and it's like
Yeah.
not because you're a man means that you're going to be stronger and a better fighter than the girl, because sometimes it's the girl that's the stronger, better fighter, and
Yeah.
it's like gender has nothing to do with it. It literally has
Yeah.
nothing to do with it, because there's so many other things. It's not just, and it's not always just strength. So even if you're, and
Mm-hmm.
we would switch it up like that, like having smaller people fighting bigger people, so that the smaller people can learn what they have to tactically do if they were to get
Mm-hmm.
attacked by someone bigger,
Yeah.
right? If they have someone bigger coming after them, they have to know how to defend themselves against that.
Yeah.
Right? So the smaller person is going to have to do different techniques to be able to beat the opponent, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it can be done. It's strategy, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
the way that you go about it. So yeah, so that's why I was very very collaborative, and yeah,
Mm-hmm.
atmosphere. It was awesome.
Yeah, I think it like takes the stress, like the added stereotypes and stress and pressures out of fighting and out of like sparring, which kind of takes like the whole fun away from it. Like mostly you're there to learn and you're there to like improve your skills. And I find like at least in boxing and in certain places, especially in the Toronto area, it's more like about ego than it is about anything else, and like it's kind of about like how like good and like how quickly like the best you can be or whatever, instead of like actually being like a full rounded boxer. And like okay, sure, you might win like the first 5 to 10 fight. I think novice is like 10 fights or whatever, but then once you get to open class, you lose everything because like everyone knows like how to find each other's weaknesses by that point. They know how to like fight relatively well. And if you're like just, you know, everyone is kind of like I don't know how to say this like nicely, politically correctly, like literally just telling you, oh yeah, just telling you what you want to hear. I was going to say the more rude version of that. Literally just telling you what you want to hear, then it's going to be a big upset and it's going to be such a hard thing to overcome mentally, because until that point, you know, oh, you're unbeatable, you're so amazing and like whatever. But like aggression doesn't outweigh fighting smart. That's what I'm trying to do, is like try to be more what's the word for it, like patient, but also like just more economical with how I'm fighting. So like moving can be like really a smart decision. Like you don't just have to stay in one place, but that's like a nice break for your legs. You don't have to go 150% for the full 3 minutes. And I think it's like just um a lot of things that like get overlooked, you know what I mean, like the art part of it, um in terms of like, yeah, it just gets overshadowed by like the ego part. And some people show promise like right away and then they burn out, right? So I think it's like um having that good balance. And
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with like, you know, winning a few, or I mean, sorry, losing a few early on, but then, you know, as soon as you learn from that, you can just knock it out of the park after that. I would be more concerned about winning fights at like an open level, because that's the more challenging thing probably. Well, first fight, and then after that, like depending. Not saying, yeah, I don't want to come off as saying like, oh, this is all going to be so easy and all these blah blah blah, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. I honestly think it's more about being like a well-versed and well-rounded person, because like how many times have I seen like I've been watching the Olympic bouts from 8 years ago, and how many times have I seen the people who are more patient, more determined, and they ended up coming out. Like, sure, that person was more aggressive and won the first round,
Yeah.
but by the second and third round, they were tired themselves out. Was not impressive at all. And the other people were able to overcome the deficit and outtake them. So I think it's like just knowing how to pace yourself too.
Yeah, for
You
sure.
don't always have to burn out, and then like you still have another 6 minutes to go.
Yeah.
How are you gonna get through that? Some of these people, I was just surprised. Like the poor kid, I think he's from Honduras, and he just got like no punches in at all. It just seemed like he had never fought before in his life, and it just seemed like he got rushed there, or maybe they didn't have like a big boxing program or something. But then he went up against someone who had a lot more experience than he did, and it was like literally picking off a fly, like just swatting a fly. It was just not even close. It was a little heartbreaking to see at that level. I was genuinely surprised to see that. And then later you see, I think it was India who won that. And then later on, he ended up losing because the other guy was more patient and more calm, and he was able to irk that guy. So he ended up losing, which is interesting to see the progression because he did so well in his first bout. But this is like not even on topic anymore. This is not even about you anymore.
No, I mean, it's good. It's about it's about the sport. It's all completely related, and
Yeah.
it just goes to prove, that aggression and strength isn't always the winning factor.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
so yeah.
I think it even still with how much I've learned with the sport, it still surprises me to see just being patient. In the moment, it feels like forever, but really it's like a few seconds. You know what I mean? Compared to being like milliseconds, a few seconds. Yeah. Feels like the end of the world, but when I did it a few times, I was damn, I'm actually using my defense accurately because I can see what's coming and react efficiently.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Totally.
But it's hard. It's
Yeah.
hard. You just got to control the urge to go out there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, well, I mean, you did cover that before. I was just wondering if you ever experienced any harassment or unwelcome comments when you were competing or in your gym or um, within karate.
Never.
No. Wow.
And I don't. Um. No, I never had, and I'm wondering. I think it was definitely because of the atmosphere of the club, but I mean,
Mm-hmm.
even a lot of even not just our branch, but I know of uh, some other of the franchise branches of our style. Not really, and I'm wondering if it's I think just kind of across the board. Well, one it always kind of depends on the people that you're around and the
Yeah.
people that you're with and what their personality is like. But I also think because um, uh, Shitoru Itusakai is is a Japanese, um, authentic Japanese style, respect is so important. It is so
Mm,
much a part of Japanese culture as a whole. So with that and with the teachings, and you're learning that type of discipline and respect. It's a very respectful culture, and it translates into the sport. It
mm-hmm.
translates into karate. So everything is extremely respectful, and extremely disciplined. Um, and like I know anybody that used to get out of line, um, even if you're joking around in class and you're supposed to be serious and you're supposed to be focusing. If
Uh-oh.
you're not focusing, then it's okay, knuckle push-ups off the bench, and 50, 100. You just keep doing knuckle push-ups until you stop messing around. So it was a very strict, an extremely strict environment.
Mm-hmm.
So whether it's knuckle push-ups or fingertip push-ups, um, and until there were some students who would constantly be getting in trouble, so they were always on the bench.
Yeah, I know a few people
On the
like
bench
that.
doing knuckle
Yeah.
push-ups,
Yeah.
fingertip push-ups.
Mm-hmm.
Just
Mm-hmm.
you're just gonna beat it out of not beat it out of you, but sweat it out.
Yeah.
Sweat it out. So it's a very strict and
In a way, it is good for you though, because
yeah,
you're doing more work, you're getting stronger.
yeah,
So, tough love,
tough love.
in a way, yes.
Yeah, it was very. I mean, some parents used to love sending their child that would be unruly outside of class and be like, hey, okay, I need. Well, they would come to my dad. It's like, okay, I need you to like discipline my kid. You know, like
because I can't parent my child.
so yeah, so kids that would
Parent
be
it for me.
kids that would be like, running around doing shit on the street. They come to
Mm,
class and they get respect kind of like ingrained into them, and
mm-hmm.
and then they go back home and their parents are like, "What'd you do to my kid? He's so respectful
Just
now." But
just how
it's
it is. Yeah, they just got it out. They had an outlet for whatever. Hmm. Yeah, I think that's like the cool thing about like combat sports, and like competing in them, and it's like I said before, it's like so good for you, like just mentally, spiritually, like everything. And it feels like for people who have, I don't want to say like personal issues, but like stress or anxiety or ADHD, or like, who are having problems at home, or like misunderstood, or like, there's a place for them to go, and there's like an outlet to put that. And it just makes it feel like so much more manageable, after you've like just, it's not like going through hell, but it's like definitely like pushing your body to the most extreme it can go, 10 times further after that, and then like feeling like you're gonna die, but you didn't.
yeah,
So that's how I can describe it. And it's just like once you come out on the other side and you didn't cheat yourself, it's like so rewarding. It's just like, damn, I'm so much stronger than I thought I could ever be. So I think that's like some of the cool parts about it. It's more like about personal growth, at least at like the amateur level. It's more about like personal growth. It's more about, yeah, the respect, the like the art part of it, and like being like skillful and like smart. um yeah, I don't think it's really like as violent, or as like, I don't know, people make it out to be like such a big deal, and I don't think it's what they think.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's misunderstood.
Hmm.
A lot of times it's misunderstood.
Yeah. But that's kind of interesting because like I guess it depends, like for me, the different clubs. It was really the reactions that I got, the things that were said to me were really different, especially being like a female fighter. Either being not taken seriously at all, not listened to being like, oh, it's gonna take you like, we'll go super slow, 5 years, and you have to be like perfect form, and you're not going to get anywhere unless it's like absolutely perfect. So, and to everything in between, like I've experienced from clubs, right? So it's just interesting to see that. And like even some clubs being, well, still kind of enforcing that like old boys club kind of, for whatever reason, it can be so dominant in boxing still. um it's like really interesting to experience just like how they talk about women, and like how they talk about these, like even their own female fighters, constantly like about bodies, and like what they're eating, and like um just like even though they're supporting women, it's like that weird backhanded like stab in the back, like a backhanded compliment of like, um when I did offhand go sparring against the guys there, um there were no rules, and basically um the thing was like, oh, if she gets you in the face, like that means like you're not good enough, like you're weak, blah blah blah, all of those like negative associations, instead of being like, hey, like I was good enough to surprise them, I did something like they weren't expecting. And the sentiment was like, you could take as many body shots, like body shots are fine, headshots you can't do. Like, that's just out of the question. Which I thought was really interesting because at least like in amateurs, I don't know about like professional, um, going to the body then to the head is so effective. And I've seen it like at least in the bouts that I was watching time and time again, the people who were like winning golds, who were going farther in the competitions, were doing it over and over again. And you would think like, oh, you would get used to it, but like you can't, because like it's so unpredictable of like going to the head, going to the body, going head body, or like vice versa. It's just so interesting to see that, and then to only harp on like going to the head is just like, I don't know, it's just an interesting way of doing things, I think. So yeah, I think like the comments generally, again, depending, I think, on how the coaches and the owners set the tone at the club. I think it's very, very dependent on that, because otherwise, for whatever reason, the fighters or whoever it is, will jump on like any instance to be like, give you like side comments or like back talk, and just give you that impression of like, oh, do you belong here? Like, are you lost, kind of thing? Are you this is like a boxing gym, right? Like, like, are you sure you want to be here, kind of thing? So I think it's just, really dependent on how people run things, really up to the individuals. Generally, like, they are pretty respectful, but I think, if it starts from the top down. Once they see like how the owners are treating like their female fighters, it just leaks out from there. So
it definitely starts at the top. Has a big part to play in it, and because they determine the culture of the club, and so people will have to kind of follow the leader, right? Because then the leader can determine whether to allow that type of behavior and let them stay or not. And ours, like I know our club specifically, like my dad's club specifically, my dad would be like, any it was any form of like disrespect, any, like, if he hears that because it's karate is self-defense, so it's not like you go out there and you start a fight. My dad was always like, if I hear that someone from the club started a fight, then you're kicked out of the club, right? So it's like self-defense is fine. He always taught to like run first, run away, go talk to somebody, tell an authority. If it keeps happening, run away. If you have to defend yourself, then you go defend yourself. But if you ever start a fight, then you're out of the club. So any sort of like disrespect or like not following of the rules, then you're kicked out, right? So it definitely comes from the top, and how your leader runs the culture of the club. And then also, I think, just with karate being Japanese, that culture of respect is really translated through our clubs, like a lot. It's just like it's no tolerance. There's no tolerance. Like, it is so strict. Discipline is so strict. Respect so strict, and it's not tolerated.
I feel like there's a little bit of leeway, at least in boxing, especially like maybe just in general, because like as soon as they show a little bit of promise or talent, people can sometimes get away with a lot, and even being like lazy or being cheating on diet or like what have you. You can kind of like get away with things, especially depending on the club, like, or the owner, right? So I've seen that happen, and go both ways of like just some expectations were just really insane. And then I think in the end, the fighter just didn't want to, I don't know, it's just too much, right? Didn't want to conform with that. So I think it was just like having a good balance. Yeah. Okay, so one time I was working with this girl. That's where this question comes from. And my coworker asked if she should put her kids in karate. And I was explaining, like, yeah, it's like great and blah, blah, blah. My friend did karate. And then basically, she comes out of nowhere and she's like, no, they shouldn't do that. Taekwondo is better. I'm like, first of all, bitch, nobody asked you. Second of all,
So,
well, it's a total different sport, I'm guessing.
yeah, they're different styles.
There's not really like a comparison.
There's not a compare. There's a lot of different styles. Like, there's a lot of different styles, and the styles are completely different. Like, they're all different art forms. So you can't compare them because they're really different. The only thing you can compare is the quality of the execution of the style.
Okay.
Really, only like the quality of the execution is something that you can compare. But besides that, no, the styles are a lot different. So, nah, you can't compare it like that.
Yeah. That's what I was saying, but
just
let the kids, figure it out for themselves. So just let them, they'll definitely tell you what they enjoy more. So, but some people just like to be very aggressive. So, like, it's a long story that's just neither here nor there. So, yeah. Would you ever go back?
Would I go back? I love it so much. I miss it. Would I go back? I would love to go back. Yeah.
Is there like an age limit on sport? Because I know actually I just found this out. Amateur boxing age cap is 40, which is good because that means I have a long time left. But that's just like for the highest levels of competing. I think after that you can still do it at a club level. But yeah, it's just like kind of looked at as like if you're not this young sprite 16-year-old, you're not going to get anywhere, So I think it's like discouraging for people who just want to like stay healthy or like do a lifelong sport or whatever. I think it should be like more commonplace. People are like, oh, once you're 40, your body just disintegrates. I'm like, I've seen plenty of 40-year-olds who look like they're 20, so check yourself. And then I've seen plenty of 20-year-olds who look like they're 100. So vice versa. It's but also like if you're lifelong healthy and you're active, isn't that like it actually turns back the clock and like it makes your body way better, way healthier, lasts longer, speeds like your metabolism up, like all those like beneficial things. I thought it like there were a few studies that said it like reduced aging and stuff like that. Like it takes years off of your life. Like it gives you more time is what I'm trying to say. I think it gives you more time. So with that more time and your young ageless body, why wouldn't you?
It definitely helps your health. I mean, my mom was doing karate for like, I don't know how many years, 30 years, probably 30 years. And then even when she stopped doing it. Like she hasn't done it in like maybe 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
Probably hasn't done it in about 20 years. And her body is still like she's living off of the 30 years of karate that she did.
Yeah.
Like people that are her age that didn't do that kind of physical exercise are in a lot worse condition, like
Yeah.
don't have as much strength from it. And she's like, even though she has like arthritis and, like that, even though things are deteriorating because of age, there's still so much, she still has so much strength in her from her 30 years. And if she didn't
Yeah.
have, she would be in a lot worse position now. So yeah, no, it definitely, the exercise definitely helps, and I mean, uh, like going back to like age in the sport, in I know in karate especially, the older you get and the longer you've been doing it, like the better you get, because it's
Mm-hmm.
it's one of those things where it's like you get better with age. It's kind of like aging meat, like marinating meat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Wine,
The longer,
fine wine, you know?
yeah, man, the longer that steak marinates, the better it tastes. And so the older you get and the longer you've been doing it, the better you are, the more refined you are. So you get better with age. At least in karate, that's how it
See, this
is.
is what I keep telling myself. So I'm glad you're just saying the words that I'm internally telling myself. Uh, and I feel like, because I was watching a video the other day about like how feeling like you're behind actually could mean you're ahead, right? And how, like, oftentimes specializing and finding out what you want to do when you're a lot older and when you have so much more life experience under your belt is so much better for you in the long term and like in your actual career and financial happiness than it is to specialize really, really young. So it's just like really, again, a really great thing to hear and like validation back of being like, I've got time. It's all good. It's just gonna, when I get to the right time, I'm gonna just hit it out of the park, you know? Whatever it is, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
hmm I think that's like one of the other things is like you shouldn't not go for competing no matter like what age you are or like what time you started, because you never know, right? um and if it's something you really enjoy and you have the time for, yeah, especially in
Yeah,
like women's sports, that's just like such a early stages for everything. Like of course things are going to be a bit more delayed because like finding people to fight, finding like the age appropriate and weight appropriate people to fight that are near you, and that like and setting that up, it just takes longer because there's far fewer, right, far in between compared to like the guys. And the amount of fights too that get canceled or postponed or rain checked compared to the guys is much higher. um, so yeah, it's just a bit of a different battle, and I feel like just because like it's a little bit longer or different doesn't make it worse. So it's just mm-hmm.
gotta get more, girls into it.
Yeah, I
But
think so. Yeah. Yeah, more people for me to fight.
bring more awareness. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there was like, because I was creeping on Boxing Ontario's website, there's like two or three, but they're like all the way in Ottawa and Windsor. So I'm like, hopefully something happens. They're like the exact same age, zero bouts and all that stuff. So I'm like, maybe, maybe. Yeah, well, that is all the questions and personal content I had for you. Is there anything else you would like to talk about, bring forward?
Talk about bring forward.
Or forever hold your peace.
Forever hold my peace. I just say like if anybody like wants to get into karate, um,
Mm-hmm.
to go to my Sheehan's dojo. There, if
Mm-hmm.
you're in like the Toronto area, they're in Etobicoke. Their website is karatetoronto .ca or .com. Yeah,
Maybe just try both. You'll find them 50-50.
yeah, but yeah, they're in they're yeah, I would say go there. They're awesome. I think even now, like during COVID, they're doing like online classes.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, they're so like on the forward front of technology. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's is it .ca? .com.
Dot
KarateToronto.com.
com.
Karate.
Heard it here first. .com.
That's it for me.
Okay. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in today. Thank you so much for joining us, Genia. And I mean, from now on, moving forward, it's going to be the two of us interviewing other people. So, not just talking about ourselves, which is so fun. But yeah, alas, we will make space for other people and their stories.
Yeah.
Yeah, so thank you for tuning in this time. We hope you enjoyed. We'll be back next week.
All right. See ya. Peace.
Hey.
Hey everybody, I'm Genia.
I'm Abigail Dube.
And you're listening to Knockout Origins.